Hello everyone! Welcome to our first session of Nozomi Hour, when we will give you the latest OT and IoT cybersecurity industry updates and insights. Let me introduce myself. My name is Anton. I'm an industrial cybersecurity evangelist and certified engineer at Nozomi Networks, with experience more than 10 years helping industrial clients all over the world to protect their industrial control systems. I'm a co-founder and contributor of multiple industrial cybersecurity community projects initiatives. Big fan of industrial cybersecurity topic, big fan of information sharing, knowledge sharing, and happy to share some useful insights with you today. So what is Nozomi Hour? Nozomi Hour is our new initiative. We as a cybersecurity, OT cybersecurity company, we always keep a finger on the industry pulse, and we do that to improve our services, improve our technology, and we decided to start sharing this with our community, with the clients, partners, and the broader community. During this session, we will be providing reviewing some events that we consider interesting or useful to you, or maybe innovative. And we understand that some of the data, some of the insights might be more, some might be less relevant to your specific assets in the industry, but anyway, it should be good context about what's going on in the industry in general. This time we decided to cover the long period starting from January this year, so 11 months. Next session will be about 2 months, every 2 months. We will be covering the problem part of the topic, like threat landscape, incidents, vulnerabilities, attack techniques, as well as a solution part, including regulatory frameworks, standards, as well as technology trends, research tools, including what's new happened with Nozomi technologies, what's new happened beyond the Nozomi technologies in the industry. And we're hoping it's going to be useful to you. So let's get started. Let's get started with threat landscape updates. This time, since we're covering the long period of 11 months, I decided not to highlight specific incidents and attacks, rather highlight the high-level insight that we see in the industry, and we publish that on our annual threat landscape report. First of all, we still see that ransomware activity remains strong in this year. Lots of industrial clients are, victims number one, still because of, industrial companies still less protected than other industries, and they're less tolerant to downtimes. They're more willing to pay ransom, and this is the big problem. The second highlight is that healthcare has become the third most targeted industry globally in 2023. As well, we see that the proliferation of artificial intelligence and generative AI, ChatGPT in particular, not only on the good side but as well on the bad side, and we see that there are ways to circumvent the guardrails and use the ChatGPT for malicious purposes. And we see launches of new generative chatbots like WarmGPT, especially for malicious purposes, like to generate phishing emails, to write malicious code, and so on. And another big insight that we see is that it's not really new, but it's especially important this year. The cyber operations are the big part of real military conflicts, affecting not only conflicting countries and conflicting parties, but as well as as other industries around them. So that means that the companies, they might not be a target of this cyber operation, they anyway might be the victim of them, and they might be a chain in the long supply chain, of long attack chain. So it's important to take into account when you think about your role in the world, your company role in the world, in the region. And other interesting insights that we see in our unique telemetry from our security solutions, from our network sensor installed over the world. We collect that anonymized data from our Vantage Cloud solution, from telemetry that our clients provided us voluntarily. And we see statistics on the most frequent events and most frequent incidents happening in the network. You can see from this table there are network scans, clear text password, weak passwords, the program transfers in the network. So these statistics might be useful in terms of focusing your own effort on what events and what security controls you need to implement in your network to prevent these kind of incidents from happening. And talking about the incidents, I decided to share not the specific incidents, but rather the list of good resources, list of public databases of incidents in critical infrastructure, in industrial companies, provided by some community members. You can see those databases by the link. In those databases, you can filter the data by the country, by industry, by time period, and use that information for your general threat landscape understanding and providing, let's say, reports to your executives and managers. Moving on to the vulnerability landscape. Again, since this is the long period, I decided to highlight not specific vulnerabilities, but rather the good service, it's a community service, open source project, ICS advisory project. This great project aggregates vulnerability advisory information from US CISA and provides it in a graphical way with a visualization, with dashboards and filtering capabilities, where you can filter it by the severity score, by the time period and products and so on. You can see those selections that might be important to you for your understanding threat landscape in OT environment. It's a great project in terms of providing the general real-time, close to real-time ICS vulnerability analytics, but as you can understand, it has nothing with your specific assets. So it's not relevant to your assets. It cannot provide the specific vulnerability information about assets in your network. For that purpose, it's better to use the vulnerability management tools for IT environments, for example, like our Nozomi vulnerability management engine, when you can see the specific vulnerabilities for your own assets with the prioritization to choose what is the most dangerous, most important to focus your efforts to mitigate those vulnerabilities. But anyway, this service is interesting in terms of understanding the big picture of vulnerabilities during the time period in OT environment. And talking about vulnerabilities, I would like to highlight the important news in the industry, in the vulnerability management area in particular. US CISA this year started publishing their ICS advisory information for OT and medical devices in machine-readable format in JSON, which is called the Common Security Advisory Framework. And they urges vendors to adopt CSAF for their security advisories. Why it is good? Well, because it automates of production, distribution, and consumption of security advisories at the level of vulnerability management vendors, at the level of asset owners as well, and the level of security operation centers. For us as vulnerability management vendor, it is personally makes our life easier to faster ingest this data, faster providing this information to our clients through our threat intelligence feeds. Another project that is relevant to vulnerabilities I would like to highlight that has been developing in the past years is that Mitre started their special interest group for OT for collecting the common weaknesses relevant to OT and ICS. This is a great resource, providing the taxonomy, the dictionary of all possible weaknesses in relevant to OT environment. It's not like the vulnerabilities we are used to seeing during the vulnerability scanning. This is the broader picture of all possible weaknesses in OT components in OT environment, relevant weaknesses relevant to configurations, relevant to processes, to people behavior at different stages, and so on. And among other consumers of this information, asset owners can use this data, can use this taxonomy, this is dictionary to prepare or improve their scope and direction of risk assessment of their ICS. So you can use this data as a additional input, what you can find, what's your problem in your OT environment. It's a good project and I highly recommend to follow it and contribute if you have opportunities. Let's move on, and the next topic that has lots of attention, in particular this year, that I noticed is the cybersecurity for space and satellite infrastructure. Lots of activities around this topic, research, regulation frameworks, conferences, training, attack frameworks, and real incidents with this kind of infrastructure. New emerging cybersecurity demand the critical infrastructure itself, but at the same time, this is important topic for other critical infrastructure and industrial sectors, because this is a critical service for them, for the satellite communication. So this is potential new cyber attack vectors that should be taken into account. So it's important to keep an eye on this topic. And the next topic, which is relevant to previous one, is cybersecurity of unmanned aerial vehicles, drones, quadricopters. Lots of attention from offensive and defensive perspective to this system due to their increasing role in military and civil applications. These systems might be a physical target to critical infrastructure facilities, which controlled with cyber means or can be prevented with cyber means. As well, the system might be a target in case of using them in civil application for surveillance, for monitoring. This is new area of threats. This is new potential threat vectors. So it's worth keep an eye on these threats. And we're moving on to the regulation use and standards, where I would like to start with IEC 62443 standards updates, which is the most important, in my view, the most relevant standard on OT cybersecurity. For those who are new to this area, this is international series of standard covering OT cybersecurity. It has several parts with technical aspects of cybersecurity, with organizational aspects, and there hasn't been any big updates on new parts or new version of existing parts, but there was a news that Qatar National Cybersecurity Agency recommended using 62443 for electricity and water sector, and this is not the only country in the world that uses this standard as a basis for their national regulation for critical infrastructure protection. Other countries like Brazil, Singapore, India, Malaysia, UK, US, European Union, and even at some structures of United Nations, it is used for as a critical infrastructure regulation framework. And great standard, lots of application on that, lots of applications like trainings and courses for professionals, certifications for professionals, the certification for systems. Great standard to follow and to follow the updates. And speaking of applications of IEC 62443, in particular the certification, this year ISA Secure, which is certification body of for IEC 62443 standard, they started new certification program addressing industrial IoT component security. This is a good news. Now it is a good benchmark for asset owners for purchasing secure IoT components or asking for this certificate or using the requirements for these certifications for their RFPs, RFIs, inquiries. And this is the new certifications in the list of other certifications that ISA Secure has, like certification for secure software development, the OT component certification, OT system certification, and so on. And another big announcement is that ISA Secure announced new certification assurance program, which is called Automation and Control System Security Assurance, with the goal to standardize the process and reports for cybersecurity assessment in ICS. So they want to create the standard way to do the audits and assessment in ICS, to do the personal assessment, hardware, software, policies for the control system that are in operation at the owner side. And there will be supporting elements like assessor company accreditation, assessor personal credential, and training classes. Good news, so in the future there will be a standard how to do the assessment, and they are promising to start it at the end of in the end of the next year, at the beginning of the year 2025. Another update is that NIST published their new version of Guide to Operational Technology Security. It's a good resource. In my view, this is a great educational resource for beginners to get into OT security. It's less applicable for compliance purposes, but good educational resource. They updated scope from ICS to OT, updated threats, vulnerabilities, recommended practices, tools, activities in IT, the mapping to NIST cybersecurity framework and other frameworks. All in all, good educational resource for those who are new to the OT cybersecurity domain. Another big news of the year relevant to regulation is European Union published their new version of their NIST directive, which is the European-wide legislation on cybersecurity, aiming to achieve a high common level of cybersecurity across the member states for European Union critical infrastructure. This new version came into force this year. Among other things, NIS2 increases the number of sectors and entities subject to cybersecurity requirements, so it's not only industrial companies, but as well some service companies, the digital companies. And the European Union requires nation states to adopt and publish the national cybersecurity policy according to NIS2 directive by the October 2024, and this is the directive not directly for asset owners, but for countries and their governments. And after the governments will adopt this NIS2 directive at their level, the asset owners should comply with their national regulations. So all in all, it's a good reference even for non-European Union audience. It's a good reference to learn the European experience, because this regulation affects big territories, lots of countries, lots of industries, and good reference to learn. And now time for technology part of our session. I will start with news from Nozomi, what's new happened with our portfolio, our technologies, and then I will move on to other tools beyond our portfolio, best practices and so on that I found interesting. A big news of the year, Nozomi launched their endpoint sensor, Nozomi Arc, for endpoint data collection and asset visibility. The big value of the product, of the technology, is that now it extends the coverage and accuracy of monitoring for those facilities that cannot use network sensor. Now this sensor may be installed on Windows, Linux, Mac OS operating system, collecting additional data, like data on network knowledge, such as passive network asset inventory, the active network asset smart polling, network threat detection from the position of the endpoint, from the host, and as well as, of course, asset knowledge. Since it's installed on the operating system, it can collect additional data from the sensor, such as the inventory of vulnerabilities, software installed, hotfixes, user accounts, hardware performance. It can detect suspicious activity in the operating system logs with Sigma rules. It can do additional correlation of network activity on Guardian with process and user activities on a host. and it also provides the USB device monitoring. All in all, it's a new coverage, big additional data for lots of additional data for incident response and asset management. Another update is new version, the second version of our asset intelligence service that is meant to provide additional attributes of assets attributes that cannot be collected within the network with active or passive components, such attributes as end of sale, end of support. New version is empowered with advanced artificial intelligence, automatic learning, behavior-based model, and provide even better asset inventory accuracy. In particular, the improvement regarding type identification, vendor identification, product name identification. So the new high level of inventory accuracy. There have been updates in our threat intelligence ecosystem. Big one is that we launched our new threat intelligence feed that enables to use threat intelligence data even without Nozomi product. So it can be landed directly on third-party security systems like CM, SOC, firewalls that can ingest the threat intelligence data in sticks format. And another one, we started collecting anonymized detection telemetry from Vantage that adds value to the threat intelligence feed and subscription. So now we have a loop. The data from our own sensor comes to our threat intelligence infrastructure and improve the threat intelligence that we deliver to all our clients. This year as well, we launched our Nozomi playbooks capabilities, which is actually the set of steps on incident response. Now our clients can create their own playbooks. They can assign it on specific type of alerts. They can import those playbooks. They can export them. They can share it as a content packs within the organization or to other partners in the community. So it's a great improvement in incident response for our clients. Content packs. We developed 3 new content packs with compliance reports for NERC SIP for power industry, IEC 62443, 2 parts 2-1 and 3-3, as well as Operation and Technology Cybersecurity Control by Saudi Arabia. This is a good compliance investigation support tools for our clients. If you want to get access, please ask your local Nozomi representative. And another small but important updates from Nozomi. We added new filter in query language in Vantage and Guardian regarding known exploited vulnerabilities catalog by CISA. So this is the catalog of vulnerabilities that have been exploited in the wild. This catalog might be used as an input to vulnerability management prioritization. So we provide this capability. Now with this filter you can easily group or filter the only vulnerabilities that really dangerous, that really have the exploits in the wild. So this is additional support for vulnerability prioritization for your vulnerability management process. Another nice update, we launched new hands-on video tutorials on our Nozomi Academy portal. Good resource for beginners, good resource for getting to know our solution in video format. And another new product of the year is Nozomi Vantage IQ, our machine learning engine that automates reviewing, correlating, and prioritizing alerts, vulnerability data, process variable data telemetry to provide meaningful insights into real threats. It's a great tool, great new level of analytics. And now we are moving on to the interesting stuff beyond Nozomi Network portfolio. The first thing I wanted to recommend is a great public guide on conducting testing for OT security monitoring tools by Raphael Araquelian from PwC Canada. This is a great detailed guide for asset owners, helping understand the current market, test the solution in a structured way. It's a great detailed guide with examples how to organize the process, how to choose the requirements, how to do the testing. Great resource for those who just starts the selection process or who want to improve this. Another interesting community tool that has been published this year is OT plugins for Mitre Caldera, Automated Adversary Emulation Platform. Mitre published 3 new plugins for OT protocols, BACnet, DNP3 and Modbus, that can help you emulate Mitre attack techniques for ICS attacks. This is a great, might be great lab practical exercise tool to do the research, to do the education. And I would like to highlight this is not the only tool in the community. They can help you to build the lab, to do the exercises. There are lots of attack frameworks, emulation tools. I put the link on the slide on the great repository on GitHub with lots of emulation tools, lots of tools helping you to simulate ICS environment, which is called ICS Security Tools. I personally contribute to this resource and highly recommend for those who want to do their own lab and their own exercises. One of the recent updates is Center for Information Security published new hardening guides, new benchmark for lots of systems for Fortinet, IBM, Apple, Microsoft, Oracle, Red Hat and many others. So benchmarks, basically the configuration baseline and best practices for securely configuring system, and they have lots of this kind of benchmarks for different types of system, for cloud providers, for desktop software, network devices, operating systems, and in particular for OT environment. We all know that there are many IT system, general IT system like operating system and network devices are used in OT environments. So this benchmark also good source of technical requirements for cybersecurity on how cybersecurity can be improved technically in the OT environment as well. So this is a recommendation. Speaking of hardening guides and how to improve configurations of PLC itself, OT components, I would like to remind you of the project that has been developing for a few last years, which is called Top 20 Secure PLC Coding Practices, which is basically guidelines how to program PLCs, how to configure them without any external tools and support. It's a great guidance from engineers how to do that. And what's new happened this year, there has been published a new collection of documentation and guidance to practice secure coding for various PLC vendors. For example, Honeywell, Mitsubishi, Omron, Rockwell, Schneider Electric, Siemens, and Yokogawa. And there is also a custom model for CISA's cybersecurity evaluation tool for self-assessment of these controls. Good example, good project, and new good example of practices implementation for those who want to improve security posture of their PLC and the content of the PLC itself. Big topic of the past years is software bill of materials, and this year as well. For those who are new, software bill of materials is the list of software components, ingredients, such as DLLs, modules. This topic has emerged as a key building block in software supply chain risk management. Still at the very early stage, there are already established machine-readable formats for SBOMs like Cyclone DX, SPDX, but still not many vendors provide SBOMs to their clients, and many clients don't know what to do with these SBOMs if they get it. So still no integration with asset and vulnerability management tool. But this year, US CISA, who pay close attention to this topic, published a couple of good guidance on this topic. First of them is the report on sharing lifecycle, providing recommendations for vendors, how to share, how to distribute SBOMs to their users. And the second one is the guidance on software bill material consumption, more for asset and vulnerability management tools, so how to ingest these SBOMs and how to provide actionable data to their users. Great improvements. We are as a vendor for asset and vulnerability management, we researched this topic as well and working on providing this great opportunity, the great new level of asset visibility in the future, providing the new level of vulnerability discovery and supply chain risk management. And the last topic of today's session is the topic of cyber insurance. There was a good report published this year by ENISA on challenges of cyber insurance in Europe. Lots of attention to cyber insurance in the past years due to ransomware attacks all over the world. Many companies use cyber insurance as an additional part of their risk mitigation strategy. It's important to understand that this is just additional part. It's not a replacement cybersecurity program at all. Still, the topic is in development phase. That's why many companies face challenges, and this is a great report with great details and lessons learned and insights on the challenges that critical infrastructure operators in the UE faces and when they seek to acquire cyber insurance. Highly recommended for those who are considering using cyber insurance in their cyber risk management strategy. And that's it for today's first session of Nozomi Hours. Thank you for joining us. Keep monitoring the industry. Keep protecting critical infrastructure. I'm your host, Anton Shipulin. See you next time.